Colombia, in the northwest of South America, has coasts along both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, where the Great Andes mountain range ends, being rich in climatic variations due to many altitudes, and with some of the highest levels of annual rainfall in the world, makes one of the largest environmental hubs in the planet. With a land area of over 1 million square kilometers, it's almost the size of France and Spain put together. Only less than 6% of the Earth's total land is covered by rainforests, and therein lie 3/4 of the world's biodiversity. The Amazon rainforest, responsible for 15% of the planet's oxygen supply, covers 40% of South America and 35% of Colombia. Due to all of this, Colombia is among the top 10 of every biodiversity ranking in the world. It holds 18% of the world's bird species, and it's the richest in terms of amphibians. And, aside from having a portion of the Amazon, it's one of the top 10 countries in terms of primary forests. Colombia has a potential annual water production, measured in cubic kilometers, greater than that of countries as large as India or the continental United States. Today, there are 52 protected natural areas, a number likely to grow in the future, with a total area equal to 2 times the entire size of Costa Rica. However, all of this is threatened by the cocaine industry, run by the drug cartels, of which the FARC is the largest in the world. Out of the 79,000 hectares cultivated with coca today, 6,000 are distributed among 18 natural parks. The most afflicted provinces of the country are located along the Amazon rainforest. Other ecologically important areas heavily afflicted are the snow-capped Sierra of Santa Marta and the Colombian Massif. The cocaine production chain consists of 3 stages, each of them highly damaging to the environment. 1 hectare of rainforest produces 28 tons of oxygen a year, and to establish 1 hectare of coca, at least 3 of forest are cut down. The technique most commonly employed to clear the land is slash and burn, the main source of air pollution in Colombian jungle areas. For every hectare slashed and burned, 380 tons of biomass are reduced to ash, cinders, and sediments. 100,000 acres of forest are destroyed each year as a direct result of drug production, an area equal to half the size of New York City. During the past 25 years, more than 2 million hectares have been clear-cut to grow coca, which is equivalent to the size of Israel. Even though this trend has been slowed down by effective government policies in recent years, the damage has already been done. Due to the unsuitability of jungle soil for agricultural processes, and in order to maximize plant yields, coca farmers use 10 times more agrochemicals than those used by farmers in legal crops. To save time and money, they mix most of the agrochemicals into a single batch for fumigation. Among them are those commonly known as the dirty dozen. These chemicals are alarming, not just because they resist biodegradation and are toxic. They are also highly mobile. Once released into the air, these can travel great distances through a process of multiple cycles of evaporation and condensation. This is sometimes called the grasshopper effect. When working with pesticides, coca farmers use no protection, exposing themselves to grave health risks. In the U.S., where protection is mandatory, there are still between 10 and 20,000 cases of pesticide poisonings each year. Once the plants have been harvested, the second stage of this ecocide begins, the laboratories. 66% of the coca farmers can't just sell the harvested leaves. They must turn them into the much easier to conceal and transport coca paste or base, so the FARC will buy it. These labs are always located near water sources, and the processing of the coca leaf requires a great amount of chemicals. In most of the cases, this is done directly by the farmers and done most times in their home kitchens. Supplies are stored in precarious conditions. In order to keep the chemicals cool and prevent their evaporation, farmers use non-airtight containers, put them into the rivers, where they inevitably leak. The last stage takes place in specialized cocaine factories and is done by professional chemists. Most of these labs have been found near populated areas, some even in large cities. The chemicals required for this last stage include an even greater number of controlled and prohibited substances. Large quantities of toxic chemicals are distilled in order to reuse them, constantly dumping thousands of gallons of hot water back into rivers, thus increasing water temperature and altering the ecosystem. And when these chemicals can no longer be recycled, they are dumped unceremoniously into the rivers. Taking into account that Colombia's estimated cocaine production is 640 metric tons, and 1 hectare produces an average of 7.7 kilograms of cocaine a year, the math shows just how devastating this entire production cycle can be. Now, and after so much destruction, the cocaine that will be consumed in the United States and Europe is ready to be trafficked. During the past 25 years, the international community has not been aware of the ecocide perpetrated on Colombia because of the global appetite for a supposedly clean drug. Many people ignore that Colombia's strategy against drug trafficking is also an effort to protect the environment. Ultimately, the most vital and long-lasting result of this policy, and as such, deserves the world's recognition and support. While citizens around the world are mobilizing and organizing to tackle climate change, the FARC are cutting and destroying the forest in Colombia and contaminating our water sources. Today, the FARC are on every major international terrorist list for crimes such as kidnapping, mass murders, and forced recruitment of children. Now, they must be held into account for their environmental crimes as well. After drug trafficking, the most harmful actions to the environment by these groups are the attacks against oil pipelines. Over the past 20 years, there have been over 1,000 attacks against pipelines, with a total spillage of 3.2 million barrels of crude oil, equal to 12 times the amount spilled in the Exxon Valdez disaster in 1989. If a corporation committed these many ecological crimes, there would be global outrage, boycotts, and sanctions. Every line of cocaine snorted at a party in New York or London means a contribution to ecocide and possibly a contribution to climate change. Perhaps a question that needs to be asked in environmental and scientific forums is, what is the carbon footprint of a casual cocaine user? The Colombian government has not ceased for a single moment in its fight against drug trafficking and the destruction it finances. In this struggle, we Colombians have paid a dear price. We have lost some of our best leaders, our best judges, our best policemen, our best journalists. We Colombians are doing everything we can, everything that is in our hands, but we all, as citizens of the earth, have a shared responsibility in acting on this issue. It's our sincere hope that our friends in the international community and other organizations who care deeply about the environment help us raise consciousness of these actions. Colombia's battle against drug trafficking is in fact also a struggle to protect one of the world's biodiversity sanctuaries.